The Battle of Brandywine, fought on September 11, 1777, stands as a pivotal moment in the American Revolutionary War. This engagement not only showcased the military strategies and capabilities of both the Continental Army and British forces, but also highlighted the resilience of the American spirit in the face of adversity. As we delve into this significant battle, we will explore its context, key events, and lasting implications on the course of the Revolution. Historical context in 1777. The British sought to quash the American rebellion by capturing Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress. General Sir William Howe, commanding a force of approximately 15,500 troops, aimed to seize control of this crucial city. Meanwhile, General George Washington led a Continental Army of about 14,600 men, determined to defend their capital and maintain their fight for independence. Strategic importance: the capture of Philadelphia was seen as a decisive blow to the American cause. Howe believed that by taking the capital, he could demoralize the rebels and rally loyalist support in Pennsylvania. Washington recognized that preventing this capture was vital for sustaining the revolutionary momentum and preserving the Continental Army's integrity. Prelude to battle: as Howe's forces advanced toward Philadelphia, Washington positioned his troops along Brandywine Creek, mistakenly believing he could block all potential crossings. The British strategy involved a classic flank maneuver. While one division engaged Washington's front at Chadds Ford, another would move upstream to attack his right flank. This dual assault would prove critical in determining the outcome of the battle. The day of battle: the battle commenced early in the morning under heavy fog, which concealed British movements from American eyes. As Howe's troops executed their plan with precision, they encountered initial resistance from American forces at Chadds Ford. However, Washington's inability to adapt quickly to Howe's tactics would soon lead to significant challenges for his army. Key engagements: Chadds Ford. The initial clash occurred here as Knyphausen's division engaged American troops. Despite fierce fighting, American lines began to falter under sustained British pressure. Flank attack. As Cornwallis's troops launched their assault on Washington's right flank near Birmingham Meeting House, confusion and disarray spread among American ranks. The Continental Army fought valiantly but was ultimately outmaneuvered by superior British tactics. Retreat and rearguard actions. Recognizing the impending disaster, Washington ordered a strategic retreat. General Nathanael Greene's division played a crucial role in covering this withdrawal, enabling many Continental soldiers to escape intact despite suffering heavy casualties. Aftermath and consequences: the Battle of Brandywine resulted in a clear British victory. However, it did not yield the strategic advantages Howe had hoped for. The British suffered approximately 600 casualties while American losses were around 1,300 men. Despite this defeat, Washington's ability to preserve his army became a testament to his leadership and strategic foresight. Impact on morale and strategy: while Brandywine marked a setback for the Americans, it also galvanized their resolve. The battle demonstrated that despite facing one of the most formidable armies in history, the Continental Army could withstand intense pressure and maintain its cohesion. This resilience would be crucial in subsequent engagements throughout the war. The French alliance: the events following Brandywine set into motion a series of developments that would change the course of the war. The American victories at Saratoga later that year convinced France to enter into an alliance with the colonies. This alliance not only provided much-needed military support but also transformed the conflict into a global war involving multiple powers. Conclusion: in retrospect, while the Battle of Brandywine was a tactical victory for British forces, it served as a turning point in broader terms for the American Revolutionary War. It highlighted both the vulnerabilities and strengths of Washington's leadership, and laid the groundwork for future successes against British forces. The resilience shown by American troops during this battle ultimately contributed to their eventual victory in securing independence. As we reflect on Brandywine today, it is essential to recognize its significance not just as a military engagement but as a symbol of perseverance in pursuit of liberty, a value that continues to resonate deeply within our national identity. Key strategic mistakes made by the British at Brandywine. The Battle of Brandywine, fought on September 11, 1777, was a significant engagement during the American Revolutionary War. Although the British emerged victorious, several strategic mistakes contributed to their inability to capitalize fully on this victory and ultimately win the war. Understanding these errors provides insight into the complexities of military strategy and the challenges faced by the British command. 1. Over-reliance on flanking maneuvers. One of the most critical strategic mistakes made by British General William Howe was his over-reliance on flanking maneuvers without ensuring adequate support for his forces. Howe's plan involved a two-pronged attack. While a portion of his army engaged American forces at Chad's Ford, the bulk of his troops would flank Washington's right by crossing at unguarded fords upstream. This tactic was successful in achieving surprise, but lacked the necessary coordination to exploit the initial advantage fully. The delayed execution of this plan allowed American forces to regroup and retreat in an organized manner. 2. Poor intelligence and reconnaissance. The British command underestimated the importance of effective reconnaissance. While Howe had access to local loyalists who provided intelligence, Washington's forces were hampered by a lack of reliable information about British movements. Washington had deployed his best scouts to other campaigns, leaving him with inadequate cavalry for effective reconnaissance. This gap in intelligence allowed Howe to maneuver his forces more effectively than Washington anticipated. But it also meant that Howe could not fully exploit opportunities as they arose. 3. Failure to destroy Washington's army. A pivotal mistake was Howe's failure to decisively engage and destroy Washington's army when he had the chance. After achieving a tactical victory at Brandywine, Howe did not pursue Washington aggressively enough. Instead, he chose to occupy Philadelphia, which may have seemed strategically sound but ultimately allowed Washington's army to escape intact and regroup for future engagements. This decision reflected a broader issue within British High Command, a consistent underestimation of the American resolve and an overconfidence in their own military superiority. 4. Misjudgment of Loyalist support. The British strategy relied heavily on the expectation that Loyalist support would bolster their efforts in Pennsylvania and beyond. However, this assumption proved incorrect as many Loyalists were either inactive or unwilling to openly support British forces against their fellow colonists. The anticipated influx of Loyalist recruits and resources did not materialize, leaving British forces overstretched and vulnerable as they attempted to maintain control over hostile territory. 5. Inadequate coordination among British forces. The lack of coordination among different branches of the British Army further complicated their efforts at Brandywine. While Howe executed his flanking maneuver, other units under different commanders struggled with communication and operational synergy. This disorganization prevented them from mounting a cohesive assault that could have decisively crushed American resistance. In summary, while the British victory at Brandywine showcased their military strength, it was marred by strategic miscalculations that limited its effectiveness in achieving broader war aims. The over-reliance on flanking tactics without adequate follow-through, poor intelligence gathering, failure to decisively engage Washington's forces, misjudgment regarding Loyalist support, and inadequate coordination among units all contributed to a missed opportunity that would haunt British efforts throughout the Revolutionary War. Understanding these mistakes not only sheds light on this specific battle but also highlights critical lessons in military strategy that remain relevant today. Related. The Battle of Brandywine, fought on September 11, 1777, was a pivotal moment in the American Revolutionary War that significantly influenced the overall military strategy of both the British and American forces. This speech will explore the battle's context, its immediate outcomes, and its long-term implications for the war. Context of the battle in the summer of 1777. British General Sir William Howe sought to capture Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress and a symbol of American resistance. Howe believed that seizing the city would effectively crush the rebellion. The American forces, under General George Washington, were determined to prevent this from happening. Washington positioned his troops along Brandywine Creek, anticipating that they could block all possible crossings and force a decisive engagement with Howe's army. However, Washington underestimated Howe's strategic capabilities. On the day of the battle, Howe executed a flanking maneuver that involved moving a significant portion of his forces upstream to cross at unguarded fords. This maneuver allowed the British to attack Washington's right flank unexpectedly, leading to a fierce confrontation that lasted for approximately 11 hours. Immediate outcomes. The Battle of Brandywine ended in a clear British victory. The Continental Army suffered around 1,000 casualties, including killed, wounded, and captured, while British losses were approximately 600. Following their victory, British forces occupied Philadelphia without significant resistance from the Continental Army. However, despite this tactical success, the British failed to deliver a decisive blow that would end the war. Key tactical lessons: intelligence and reconnaissance. The British victory highlighted the importance of effective scouting and intelligence. Howe's ability to exploit gaps in Washington's defenses demonstrated how critical information could shift the balance in warfare. American resilience. Although defeated, Washington's army managed to retreat in an organized manner, preserving its fighting capability for future engagements. This ability to regroup after a loss would be crucial in maintaining morale and continuing resistance against British forces. Long-term implications. The aftermath of Brandywine had several significant implications for the Revolutionary War. Shift in strategy. Continued American resistance. The battle reinforced Washington's resolve to keep his army intact rather than risk annihilation in a single engagement. This approach would lead to a strategy of attrition against British forces. International support. The American defeat at Brandywine ultimately set the stage for future victories at Saratoga later that year. These victories were instrumental in convincing France to formally ally with the American cause in 1778, dramatically altering the war's dynamics. Psychological impact. Boosting morale. Despite the loss at Brandywine, Washington's leadership during the retreat instilled confidence in his troops. They witnessed their commander's commitment to their survival and continued fight for independence. Perception of British invincibility. While Brandywine was a tactical victory for Britain, it did not lead to an end to American resistance as they had hoped. This realization began to chip away at the perception of British invincibility among both American troops and civilians. Conclusion. In conclusion, while the Battle of Brandywine was a tactical victory for British forces, its strategic implications were far-reaching. It underscored the importance of intelligence in military operations and demonstrated the resilience of the Continental Army under pressure. The battle set into motion a series of events that would ultimately lead to greater international support for the American cause and contribute significantly to their eventual victory in the Revolutionary War. This engagement serves as a reminder that battles are not merely won or lost on the field. They shape strategies and outcomes long after the last shot is fired. The lessons learned at Brandywine would resonate throughout the remainder of the war and influence military tactics well beyond this conflict. The British capture of Philadelphia following the Battle of Brandywine on September 11, 1777. Had significant long-term effects on the American Revolutionary War and the broader socio-political landscape of the time. This speech will explore these effects in detail, focusing on military, political, and social dimensions. Introduction. The Battle of Brandywine was a pivotal moment in the Philadelphia campaign, marking a decisive victory for British General Sir William Howe over General George Washington's Continental Army. The aftermath of this battle not only led to the British occupation of Philadelphia but also set in motion a series of events that would shape the course of the American Revolution. Military consequences. 1. Loss of strategic capital. The capture of Philadelphia, then the capital of the Continental Congress, represented a significant blow to American morale and military strategy. The British occupation lasted until June 1778, during which time they established a stronghold in a city that was central to American governance and logistics. This allowed the British to control key supply routes and exert influence over Loyalist sympathizers within the city. 2. Impact on the Continental Army. Despite losing Philadelphia, Washington's army survived the retreat and remained intact. This resilience was crucial as it allowed the Continental Army to regroup and continue fighting. The winter at Valley Forge, 1777 to 1778, tested Washington's leadership but ultimately strengthened his forces through training and discipline. The ability to maintain an organized retreat illustrated the endurance of American forces despite setbacks. 3. Shift in military focus. The British victory at Brandywine shifted their focus towards securing supply lines along the Delaware River. However, they faced challenges from American fortifications at Fort Mifflin and Fort Mercer, which delayed British resupply efforts and highlighted vulnerabilities in their strategy. This struggle for control over supply routes would prove critical in subsequent engagements. Political consequences. 1. Displacement of government. The British occupation forced the Continental Congress to flee Philadelphia, moving first to York and later to other locations. This displacement disrupted governance and decision-making processes at a crucial time during the war. 36. The loss of Philadelphia as a political center created challenges for coordinating military efforts and rallying support for the revolution. 2. Loyalist dynamics. The occupation intensified tensions between Loyalists and Patriots within Pennsylvania. While some Loyalists welcomed British forces, many Patriots fled or faced persecution during the occupation. This polarization had lasting effects on community relations and loyalty dynamics throughout the war. 34. The British failure to win over significant local support weakened their position in Pennsylvania. 3. International implications. The capture of Philadelphia initially appeared to bolster British claims of superiority in the conflict. However, it also catalyzed international interest in the American cause. The subsequent American victories at Saratoga, 1777, were partly influenced by perceptions of resilience despite setbacks like Brandywine, leading to French support for the revolutionaries. This international dimension would be pivotal in altering the war's trajectory. Social consequences. 1. Civilian hardships. The British occupation brought significant suffering to Philadelphia's civilian population. Wartime shortages led to high prices for food and essentials, while reports of looting by British soldiers exacerbated discontent among residents. 34. The social fabric of Philadelphia was strained as communities grappled with scarcity and violence during this tumultuous period. 2. Impact on Patriot morale. While losing Philadelphia was a major setback for American forces, it also galvanized Patriot sentiment across other colonies. The narrative of resilience against a powerful enemy fostered a sense of unity among disparate groups fighting for independence. This collective identity would be crucial in sustaining support for the war effort. 3. Long-term changes in governance. The experience of occupation led to discussions about governance and military strategy among revolutionary leaders. The need for more effective coordination between military and civilian authorities became evident, influencing future governance structures as America moved towards independence. In summary, the long-term effects of the British capture of Philadelphia after Brandywine were profound and multifaceted. Militarily, it reshaped strategies and highlighted vulnerabilities within both British and American ranks. Politically, it disrupted governance while intensifying loyalist-patriot tensions, influencing future political dynamics. Socially, it brought hardships that tested civilian resilience but ultimately strengthened patriotic resolve. As we reflect on these events, it is clear that while the capture of Philadelphia was a tactical victory for Britain, it also sowed seeds for future American triumphs that would lead to independence. The lessons learned during this period continue to resonate in discussions about governance, resilience, and national identity today. The defeat of the Continental Army at the Battle of Brandywine on September 11, 1777, was a significant event in the American Revolutionary War. This battle not only marked a tactical victory for the British forces under General Sir William Howe, but also had profound implications for public opinion in the colonies. The aftermath of Brandywine influenced perceptions of military competence, unity among the colonies, and the resolve to continue fighting against British rule. This speech will explore how the defeat at Brandywine shaped public sentiment and political dynamics in the American colonies. The context of the Battle of Brandywine occurred as part of the British campaign to capture Philadelphia, then the capital of the Continental Congress. General George Washington led his troops with the aim of preventing British forces from seizing this strategic city. Despite Washington's efforts to position his army effectively along Brandywine Creek, a combination of British tactical ingenuity and poor weather conditions led to a surprise attack that overwhelmed American defenses. The battle resulted in approximately 1,200 American casualties and allowed British troops to occupy Philadelphia shortly thereafter. However, it is crucial to note that Washington's army managed to retreat in an organized manner, preserving its fighting capability for future engagements. Immediate reactions to defeat. Military perspective in the immediate aftermath of Brandywine. Military leaders and soldiers within the Continental Army faced a mix of despair and determination. While the defeat was disheartening, it also showcased Washington's leadership and the resilience of his troops. The ability to withdraw without complete destruction was seen as a testament to their resolve and potential for future victories. Public sentiment. Public reaction in the colonies was complex. Many colonists were initially disheartened by the loss, interpreting it as a sign that independence might be unattainable. However, others viewed the situation differently. They recognized that despite losing a battle, the Continental Army remained intact and capable of further resistance against British forces. Shifts in public opinion increased support for independence. The defeat at Brandywine galvanized support for independence among many colonists who had previously been ambivalent about breaking away from Britain. The realization that their army could withstand a major British assault without being completely annihilated fostered a sense of hope and determination. This sentiment was crucial as it laid the groundwork for increased enlistment in the Continental Army and greater financial support for the war effort. Unity among colonies. The battle also served to unify disparate colonial factions. Prior to Brandywine, there were significant differences in how various colonies viewed the war effort. However, witnessing a common enemy in British forces helped bridge these divides, fostering a sense of collective identity among colonists. 26. The shared experience of loss at Brandywine encouraged collaboration among colonies in terms of resources and military strategy. Long-term implications. Strategic re-evaluation in light of their defeat. American leaders began to re-evaluate their military strategies. The lessons learned from Brandywine prompted changes in troop deployment and tactics that would be evident in subsequent battles. For instance, Washington's decision-making process became more cautious yet adaptive as he sought to avoid direct confrontations with superior British numbers until he had secured more favorable conditions. International perception. Brandywine also influenced international perceptions of the American struggle for independence. While it was a tactical defeat, European observers noted that Washington's ability to maintain command over his forces despite setbacks was impressive. This perception played a role in garnering support from foreign nations, particularly France, which would later provide critical military assistance following American victories like those at Saratoga. In summary, while the Continental Army's defeat at Brandywine was a significant setback, it ultimately influenced public opinion in ways that bolstered support for independence and unity among the colonies. The resilience displayed by Washington's forces inspired confidence among colonists and reshaped their understanding of what was possible in their fight against British rule. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in history, it is clear that defeats can sometimes serve as catalysts for greater resolve and unity in pursuit of a common goal. The Brandywine Battlefield Preservation Plan has played a pivotal role in safeguarding the historical significance of the Brandywine Battlefield, a key site from the American Revolutionary War. This comprehensive plan, developed in collaboration with various stakeholders, has focused on land conservation, historic resource protection, and public engagement to ensure that this important historical landscape is preserved for future generations. Historical context. The Battle of Brandywine, fought on September 11, 1777, was one of the largest battles of the Revolutionary War. It marked a significant defeat for George Washington's Continental Army against British forces. The battlefield itself spans approximately 35,000 acres across Chester and Delaware counties in Pennsylvania. Recognizing the importance of this site, local preservationists and government officials formed the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force in the mid-1990s to address growing concerns about suburban development threatening these historic lands. Objectives of the Preservation Plan. The Brandywine Battlefield Preservation Plan was initiated to achieve several key objectives. Land conservation. The plan has facilitated the acquisition and preservation of critical parcels of land. For instance, recent efforts led by the American Battlefield Trust and local partners resulted in the preservation of 72 acres deemed essential for understanding the battlefield's history. Historic resource protection. Over 200 historic resources associated with the battle have been inventoried. This includes sites of significant military actions and structures that played a role in the battle. Public access and education. The plan emphasizes creating opportunities for public visitation and education about the battlefield's history. By developing interpretive programs and community resources, such as the Brinton Run Preserve, the plan aims to enhance public understanding of the battlefield's significance. Strategic landscapes. The plan identifies 13 strategic landscapes within the battlefield that warrant further study and preservation efforts. These landscapes are crucial for interpreting military strategies and actions during the battle. Implementation and community involvement. The successful implementation of the Brandywine Battlefield Preservation Plan has been made possible through collaborative efforts among various stakeholders. Government partnerships, local, state, and federal entities, including Chester County and the National Park Service, have provided support through funding and technical assistance. Community engagement. Public participation has been a cornerstone of the preservation efforts. The task force has engaged local communities in discussions about land use, historical significance, and conservation strategies. Funding initiatives. Nearly $18 million has been raised over 25 years to purchase land or conservation easements within the battlefield area. This funding has come from a mix of private donations and public grants. Outcomes and future directions as a result of these concerted efforts. Significant progress has been made in preserving the Brandywine Battlefield, protected lands. Approximately 500 acres have been permanently protected from development through direct purchases or conservation easements. Educational programs. New interpretive programs are being developed to educate visitors about the battle's history and its implications for American independence. Long-term management plans. The Brandywine Conservancy is currently working on master planning processes for newly acquired properties to ensure their historical integrity is maintained while making them accessible for public use. The Brandywine Battlefield Preservation Plan exemplifies how strategic planning, community involvement, and interagency collaboration can effectively protect historical sites. By prioritizing land conservation, historic resource protection, and public education. This plan not only preserves a vital piece of American history but also enhances community engagement with that history. As we look to the future, continued support for these initiatives will be essential in ensuring that this significant battlefield remains a testament to our nation's past for generations to come. The preservation of the Brandywine Battlefield is a remarkable example of how local, state, and national organizations can collaborate to protect historical sites of immense significance. This partnership has enabled the conservation of lands that played a crucial role in the American Revolutionary War, particularly during the Battle of Brandywine on September 11, 1777. The collective efforts of various stakeholders have not only safeguarded the battlefield but also enhanced public access and education about this pivotal moment in American history. Historical context. The Battle of Brandywine was one of the largest engagements of the Revolutionary War, involving approximately 29,000 soldiers. It was a decisive victory for British forces under General William Howe, which subsequently allowed them to capture Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress. The battlefield spans over 35,000 acres, with significant portions now preserved as part of various conservation efforts. Key organizations involved American Battlefield Trust. This national non-profit organization has played a leading role in battlefield preservation across the United States. At Brandywine, they collaborated with local entities to acquire and protect crucial land parcels. Their recent efforts resulted in the preservation of 72 acres deemed vital for historical integrity. Brandywine Conservancy. Established in the mid-20th century, this organization has been instrumental in local conservation efforts. It spearheaded the formation of the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force, which has worked for decades to preserve significant areas within the battlefield. Their initiatives have led to the protection of hundreds of acres through both land purchases and conservation easements. National Park Service, NPS. Through its American Battlefield Protection Program, ABPP, the NPS has provided essential funding and technical assistance for preservation projects at Brandywine. Their involvement ensures that preservation efforts align with national standards and helps secure federal support for local initiatives. Local governments. Chester County and Delaware County have also been vital partners in these efforts. They have provided funding through open space and recreation grants and facilitated local planning initiatives that prioritize historical preservation. Collaborative efforts. Formation of the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force in the mid-1990s, a coalition known as the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force was formed, bringing together local citizens, preservation groups, and government officials. This task force aimed to implement a comprehensive strategy for preserving lands within the battlefield's boundaries. Their work has included public engagement. The task force has actively engaged community members in discussions about preservation strategies, ensuring that local voices are heard in decision-making processes. Fundraising initiatives. Over $18 million has been raised through public-private partnerships to purchase land outright or secure conservation easements. Strategic planning. The completion of various strategic preservation plans has been crucial to guiding efforts at Brandywine Battlefield Preservation Plan, funded by an ABPP grant. This plan outlines recommendations for preserving open spaces and historic landscapes while enhancing public access and educational opportunities. Community involvement. Local stakeholders have been integral in developing these plans, contributing their knowledge and resources to ensure that preservation efforts reflect community values. Educational initiatives. Preservation is not solely about protecting land. It also involves educating future generations about its historical significance. Interpretation programs. The Brandywine Conservancy and other partners have developed programs aimed at interpreting the battlefield's history for visitors. These initiatives include guided tours, educational materials, and interactive exhibits that bring the past to life. Public access projects. The establishment of public parks and preserves, such as the Brinton Run Preserve, allows community members and visitors to engage with the landscape while learning about its historical context. The partnership between local, state, and national organizations has been pivotal in preserving the Brandywine Battlefield. Through collaborative planning, fundraising, and educational initiatives, these groups have ensured that this significant site remains protected for future generations. The ongoing commitment to preservation reflects a broader understanding of history's importance in shaping community identity and fostering civic engagement. The successful preservation story at Brandywine serves as an inspiring model for similar efforts across the country, demonstrating how united action can lead to meaningful outcomes in safeguarding our shared heritage.